the Institute and World Café have always had a lot of affinity, because we're both trying to make this wider argument that actually conversations matter.
Human beings, with our capacity for language, we bring forth a world through the network of conversations in which we participate.
The times we're in are actually calling us to be conversational leaders in a lot of different contexts, in a lot of different ways.
When I think about what has happened with the World Café and how it has been used around the globe over the last 20 years, whether it be for the democracy movement in Thailand, or the future of Israel with 10,000 tables, or the Scottish Parliament thinking about the future of Scotland.
It's elegant, it's simple, and it can be tremendously impactful. We've used World Café to work on issues that have been adversarial for 15, 20 years on water quality. We've used it on budget issues with state government shutdowns.
Think of the World Café as this powerful invitation to really step in and to share both what is on your mind and in your heart. We were really seeking a way to engage parents in meaningful conversations about keeping their children safe and their families strong. It allowed us to settle in and share what we really care about, share what we are doing, learn from each other. And most importantly, I think for parents, was the opportunity to listen to themselves. It had a life of its own, which I think World Café does. In a lot of ways, it unleashes people to start to connect to each other and to what they really want to do, care about, what's possible.
What we were really exploring were personal stories about amazing things happening in South Africa. And I was a participant in that cafe with many other people. And I remember hearing these amazing things people were sharing and leaving that cafe feeling different about my country.
Is when we did cafes around the country around a strategic plan to end homelessness. And we had 8 different cafes in 8 places across the country, between I think 50 and 150 people at the cafe. And what came from those cafes were 5 key areas for our federal government to begin to intervene in homelessness.
It is the social art form of the future. That the main social process is a continual, ongoing conversation whereby we're collectively aligning our intention. Action spins off the core process of collective alignment of intention like water flies off a wet dog. It's just a natural thing that what manifests is going to be more coherent. People are hungry. They're hungry for meaningful contact.
Someone said, and we can bring a spirit of gladness that will explode all over the city. And it was just this moment of everyone in the room was like, we could do this work with a spirit of gladness, hard neighborhood work across difference.
So it's about taking out the polarization of the different sides. To say that actually we all want to have one good piece of law or a good suggestion or recommendation that pulls everyone, the member states, the companies into one direction. So let's get the whole diversity in, and then we go. So I think with time, and not everybody is there yet, but with time, people are seeing the huge potential of World Café there, that it's the first collection of all those views.
We don't see relationships and relationship building as measures of impact. And I think this is actually a really big problem, because we either assume they'll be there, or we take them for granted. And because we don't explicitly value relationships as impact, we tend to under-resource the process of building those relationships.
In fact, if we did nothing else but set out radiant positives, that would be our work.
Up until this moment, we can ask ourselves, what might be possible now that might not be possible before? What has heart here? It's really a question that matters. What has heart here?
One of my biggest hopes for the future is that we will recognize that the how of a situation is as critical as the situation itself. So, for example, in general, philanthropic organizations have been issue-oriented, but not as much attention has been placed either in funding or in actual exploration at the leading edge of practice of how we deal with these complex issues, the what that we care about. And I think until those two domains are partnered intimately at every level of system, and in terms of the kind of research and other support they gain, it's that combination that is going to yield the real breakthroughs.
My work with the World Café has been focused around hosting dialogues with the theme of intergenerational partnership and collaboration. And what I've noticed is that the World Café, again, provides a hospitable place where people feel welcome, and there's a real spirit of discovery going on, where people feel like there's not any answers that are premeditated, and they're not going to be judged, and we can engage with a sense of curiosity with one another.
The World Café is a living being, but she needs us to live her. And she needs us to share her. And so my dream is that each of us who has come to know the World Café continues to live her, to share her, and continue the work.
My dream is that we would be able to take this concept and address some of the harder places and the harder challenges that we face around healing, around community, around change, and I think it's a challenge to all of us.
So to the degree World Café can become just a way we know how we are connected, and a way communities or groups or organizations or even nation states could think about how do we learn from each other, how do we know and appreciate the richness and the gifts of the whole and of each of us, it would serve us towards peace and well-being.
The very essential point where the World Café can become a support system where people can connect every now and then from different traditions, different places, from different roles to support their personal, individual, and collective interests so that we can make this world sustainable. That's my dream.
So when I dream about how philanthropy might be different in the future, we would actually say, if we actually listen to what people on the ground are saying they need, and we responded to that, what might happen?
It is the community of practice. It's the global community, and we're interwoven. There are many practices that are weaving, and we're sharing and learning, picking things up from each other. It's happening now. It's happening here, and it's that field of community that welcomes us all and is so inclusive. So I'm very, very grateful, very, very happy with all of the people who show up in all of the different ways, who contribute. It's just exquisite.
There's an image now that comes to my mind as I think about the World Café and our sister and brother methodologies around the globe that have unfolded over these last 20 years. And that is the image of my grandmother's house in Mexico. There was what was called, in those old houses, you go in through a big door and suddenly you are in a central courtyard. And around that courtyard are open arched doorways. And you can go through any one of those doorways around the central courtyard or those archways, and you are in the center. And so I don't think of the World Café as being the center. I think of this central courtyard of our common human capacity to access collective intelligence and wise action as being really what the World Café's contribution has been to this collective unfolding that we're now seeing in a very mainstream way around the globe.
So when I dream of the next 20 years of World Café, and the other methodologies and disciplines of conversational leadership in the central garden of our shared work, I see the continued growth of our global community. I see the flourishing of ever-increasing diversity, particularly across generations. I see people connecting across cultures and time zones in online environments that are truly life-affirming and invite our whole selves to participate in this shared learning experience. I see the World Café making a significant contribution to our capacity for resilience and greater wisdom in all fields of human endeavor. And finally, I see the health and vitality of both the human community and the more than human community in the rest of the natural world being stronger and more positively interconnected than we can possibly imagine. I imagine us continuing to have these conversations that matter.